My journey from surviving. Let me start by noting that all of this happened over 2 years and 10 months ago, and I really considered posting asking for advice on what to do at the time, but I managed to solve it myself in an astounding sequence of ways that I had no knew I was capable of. So it all began when I discovered that my ex-wife at the time had cheated on me. Everyone who has experienced betrayal understands the sensations that accompany it: devastation, shock, despair, melancholy, self-loathing, anger, rage, and finally numbness. When I was numb, I decided not to be a victim. I chose not to watch her receive the pleasure of cheating and not feeling any consequences. Therefore, after numbness, I became determined. So, after curling up into a ball of emotions, the first thing I did was consult with a divorce lawyer. She was worth every penny, now that I think about it. She told me that first and foremost, I would need proof of the affair, because confronting her would give her power, and that I should engage a private investigator to find out who else she was cheating with, as well as where and when. I immediately began looking for private investigators and found an excellent one who I told about my issue. I received a wonderful quotation, and I was able to save some money here. After that, I entered into all of my wife's social media accounts. Her password wasn't difficult to guess, and I located all of her messages, photographs, videos, and accounts where her money was spent, and I made complete backups of everything to a new laptop that I brought and concealed from her. I'm a pretty thrifty person, therefore I kept our bank accounts separate. So all that remained was to play the role of the clueless spouse and wait for all of the proof to be gathered. It took approximately 2 months to have everything done and ready, but it was finally time to put my meticulously planned strategy into action. I urged her to treat herself to a spa weekend with her girlfriends, knowing that given the freedom, she would spend the weekend with her boyfriend, which she did. When she left and was gone, I went to get a moving trunk and had the movers I hired move everything I brought and owned out of the house to storage. When I was finished, I left an envelope on the kitchen table with a letter that I prepared with my lawyer. Essentially reading it, let me begin by saying that I am aware that you have been cheating on me for the past year, and that your betrayal has been a very painful and emotionally damaging experience. Your callousness and brutality had permanently harmed our relationship, and all the love and trust I had for you is gone. Therefore you will be getting divorce papers in a few days. I hope you find happiness one day. I was urged to make it respectful and even show some care, so I included the line about happiness. I also informed every one of our friends and family, both hers and mine, so she couldn't twist the tale and make me seem like the villain when she found out. I provided my new phone number to only people I trusted and who were close friends, with the admonition not to give it to her, and I turned my social media to private and banned her on everything. I also obtained information from the PI about her lover, who was married, and obtained his wife's contact information from Facebook and forwarded it to her, as she has a right to know why my ex-wife is wrecking her life. Suffice it to say, when she found out, she went distraught at what she heard and phoned all of our friends and relatives in search of me. I began the second phase of my strategy. I am fortunate to work as a remote employee for my job because it works with many different companies across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, so it has always been a dream of mine to find a small property of a few acres and live the frugal life, grow my own crops and animals for food, get into better shape. I wasn't overweight or anything, but I wanted to bulk up for health reasons, and just enjoy nature. I came to Minnesota because I needed a new start and began looking at houses I could be interested in, eventually finding an inexpensive fixer-upper. While I was doing this, I received updates from my lawyer. We were about to go to court, and my ex-wife was refusing to be amicable, which is what we wanted since I had gathered all of this proof. Another month passed, and I was dealing with issues on the property when I received a text from my lawyer with the date for the first hearing. I was terrified, to be honest, but it was something I needed to get over with in order to genuinely move on. The first hearing was such a farce that I can't even explain it. She accused me of abusing her and threatening her life, and that she was pregnant with my child, which she was, but the child wasn't mine since we hadn't had intercourse for 2 months before I left. My lawyer presented the court with all of the material that had been produced, which was extensive, and the judge, predictably, issued a judgment based on the evidence, which was just devastating. I didn't have to pay her anything, and she really owed me money. With my freedom in hand, I didn't care about her yelling at me and went back to my new place I was fixing up, which was very therapeutic for me and helped me deal with a lot of the issues I was going through. Sleeping was a nightmare for a long time, waking up in sweats, but everything else was going well. I fixed almost everything, started my vegetable garden and brought a lot of chicken. I had started a routine of going into town for breakfast and getting to know the area, and I think it was after 3 months of living in the new place that I finally decided to try the dating thing again, and it wasn't like I was looking for someone. But I did meet this nice girl and we started to talk, and I was very cautious because I still didn't feel ready and didn't want to move fast. Well, I sorta started getting facts off the top of my head from the locals since in a tiny town, everyone speaks about everything, and I was news for a while. Anyway, I heard she had a terrible life, horrible things occurred to her, and I'm not going to get into it, but it made me want to get to know her, who felt like a damaged good. I summoned the confidence to ask her out, and the rest, as they say, is history. For what she had been through, she kept her kindness, and it was one of the reasons I fell in love with her. We went slow because there was so much damage from both sides to deal with, but when we finally became intimate, it was just mind-blowing what love felt like again, and it was so different, everything felt so right. We got a little surprise, which 9 months later I got to hold my baby girl and named her Isabel. I posted her all over my social media, hoping that my ex would see it and realize that I was living a better life now than I had with her. I also posted pictures of my wedding with my now current wife, who, along with my baby, is my entire world, and has me believing that all of the bad I went through led me to find my true soulmate. If anyone can take anything away from this, it is to not let your emotions rule you. It will hurt, it will feel like you are in hell being poked with a hot stick every second, and the time it takes to recover from something like this is not easy. You will have to do the work, get therapy, and do things for yourself that make you happy. Also, don't confront her/him because it will give them all the power and make it easier to make you the victim, making you feel like it's all your fault. So stay silent and say nothing to her/him when you find out. Plan what you want to do from there and then just tell them you know. Arguing will only give him/her power. It will never allow her/him to take responsibility for their behaviors, which are destroying the marriage. Staying quiet implies they will have to suffer from her own views on why everything went wrong until he or she accepts that he or she was the incorrect one. Story 2. My cousin forced me to kiss him. We were younger when my older cousin, M/22, pushed me, F/21, to kiss him, which I refused to do. When we were 10 to 12 years old, for example. During a visit to a friend's home, the man indicated that he wanted to practice kissing, and this happened a couple of more times at his residence. My thoughts about what happened make me feel filthy and disgusting, and I'm on the edge of tears every time I think about it. I know I should have told someone, but the family has already lost one aunt, and there are so many things that could tear the family apart. My aunt and uncle are still in the family. His parents don't like my sister, who's a spoiled brat. One uncle doesn't live near us but keeps in touch with Nan, and I've only seen those cousins a few times. I'm close to his mother, who's my mother's sister, and I used to be really close to his brother, who is 6 months younger than me and with whom I grew up. As a result, he doesn't bring it up, mainly because whenever I see him, I'm with my mother or someone else, and no one knows, and I'm not sure whether I made it up. This isn't the first time something like this has happened to me, and I struggle with the line between reality and fantasy, so I don't want to falsely accuse anyone, but I'm pretty sure it happened. Whenever I went to see him, he didn't do anything but have me sit on his lap, facing him, and kiss him once so that I could watch a Pokemon DVD on his television. It wasn't worth it in the end. What should I do at this point? Is this even considered harassment in the first place? In addition to being concerned about what he'll do to his girlfriend, I also don't want any ramifications from my family as a result of this situation. Mom is unlikely to kick me out, but she has the potential to murder him. My ex-stepfather, with whom I have a nice relationship, will very certainly murder him. Although my parents were only aware of one instance of molestation, which wasn't very awful in and of itself, but sounds tremendously nasty when taken out of context, but that isn't the purpose of the essay. They were close to launching a nuclear attack on me,